ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon. This is the show where I take a look at every classic Doctor Who story, plus a bunch of Big Finish audio dramas, one episode a day, 7 days a week, and today on the 17th of July, 2019, we are starting a look at one of the Fourth Doctor adventures, the first to bring back the investigators of Infernal Incidences into Doctor Who, The Justice of Jalxar, written by John Dorney, and oddly enough, directed not by usual range director, but directed by Ken Bentley, who is another Big Finish director. And in part one, his directorial flair is immediately known as, let's be honest, his direction style is much different from Nicholas Briggs, the sort of range stalwart. Now, Briggs' direction is great, but Bentley gets the tone of Victorian London with Jago and Litefoot and the Doctor and Romana having a grand adventure down to a T. He works really hard getting them together, getting the characters working with each other, and really getting that atmosphere. As this story is basically a mystery. There's a mystery to solve. The Doctor and Romana arrive. There's a mysterious character called the Pugalist roaming the streets, apprehending villains to justice, and a string of mysterious corpses burnt to a crisp and then dry, showing up at Litefoot's morgue. You know, there's this big sense of intrigue of, ooh, what could be going on? What does this Pugalist fellow actually want? What is this whole stuff? Where are these connections going? And of course, Jago and Litefoot are the ones that get interested in it. And the Doctor and Romana show up because the randomizer takes them there. It's not really a big horror. However will we find this? No, it's one of those nice little coincidences that brings the Doctor back in contact with some old friends. And oddly enough, having Tom Baker, Christopher Benjamin, and Trevor Baxter in a room together acting is amazing. It is they spark off each other immediately. They have such good chemistry. They were pretty good characters and talents of Wang Chiang, but now nearly like 35 years later when they recorded this, you get a real sense that they never really left the roles. Jago and Litefoot are still great characters. Christopher Benjamin and Trevor Baxter throughout this one really show how their friendship is. The idea is that this takes place 10 years after the Talons of Wang Chiang and after the Big Finish spin-off series, the Jago and Litefoot, even referencing the fact that they've met a future Doctor, hinting at certain things to come. Meaning, of course, in the marathon, this will not be the last time we see the investigators of Infernal Incidences, which is fine by me. They are amazing characters and are always fun to listen to and watch. Now, the story itself, again, John Dorney's script is excellent. It plays around a mystery aspect. You have the Pugalist. You have basically Dorney splits up our four mains into having Litefoot and the Doctor be investigating the bodies themselves. Well, Jago is supposed to be taking Romana out to dinner, but they get stopped by a cab, and they get into a back alley, and the Pugalist shows up to serve some muggers to justice. And turns out the Pugalist is using a robot, like a steampunky type robot from the future, because of course it is. That's not a complaint, mind you. That's an amazing premise. It's amazingly pulp, and it really fits. It's a revelation like that really fits the tone that Jago and Litefoot goes for. Now, I've done videos on the first two series of Jago and Litefoot on this channel, and I will probably do more when 3, 4, 11, and 14 are all going to be later on in the marathon for full disclosure, and the rest will probably be taken up at some point because I do enjoy Jago and Litefoot as characters, and I enjoy their interactions, but it's this sort of tone, we're dealing with stuff from the future, and it's all steampunky, and we're in Victorian London. That really shows how much of a master of tone that John Dorney is as a writer. He's really, gives it his all and makes the characters come to life. You have, obviously Romana and Jago are great. You also, you have Jago and Litefoot great. Like, they open up in the Red Tavern having drinks. Jago has stolen Litefoot's newspaper, and is getting all bent out of shape because they credit him wrong as Gordon Henry Jago instead of Henry Gordon Jago. This is all an excuse, really, to get these actors in a room together and let them have fun. Mary Tam as Romana is great. John Dorney pulls this great trick of having Jago and Litefoot react to Romana almost in the opposite way as they react to Leela. Because, you have Leela, who was the noble savage. There's this point where Romana is said to be staying at Litefoot's home, and Mrs. Hudson, the housekeeper, basically tries to keep giving her food, but won't give her cutlery to use it, because you just sort of have that really nice contrast between Leela's sort of intelligence but savagery, whereas Romana being the more refined character. It really makes the story great. And you know what? John Dorney does a really, really good job of getting the plot to a point where he isn't wasting time. He's letting these characters have fun. The mystery itself is kind of a lighter element. It's not a super complex, super deep plot. Dorney knows he only has an hour to play around with these characters, so he's going to take every moment of that and keep playing. He's having fun, and that fun really comes across in the audience. It really makes this episode a really fun listen, and a really enjoyable listen, and a listen that you can easily keep coming back to for this first episode. You have the mystery, and at the cliffhanger moment, we're pretty much starting to get everything solved up. So, really, we are technically at a halfway point, something that the Fourth Doctor Adventures sometimes fails to do. Really making the Justice of Jalxar Part 1 much like some of Dorney's other work for the range, some of the best of the range. So overall, I'm going to give the Justice of Jalxar Part 1 a 10 out of 10. All right, it is the 17th of July, 2019, once again, and I just finished listening to Part 2 of the Justice of Jalxar, the concluding episode of this story. And as an episode, and as a concluding part to the plot and wrapping everything up, it's not as good as the first episode, but that doesn't stop it from being just a damn good story. Once again, as it goes without saying, the entire cast is great. Tom Baker, Mary Tam, Christopher Benjamin, and Trevor Baxter are really, really good. You have a lot of the mystery here wrapped up almost immediately after the cliffhanger. You get, okay, so the robot is a justice machine from the Jalxar Peninsula, which is basically, it's a judge, jury, and executioner, built on the principle that the guilty punish themselves. So if you feel guilt, it's psychic. It reads your minds. It can tell if you're lying. It can be like, oh, you did this crime. It killed you. But what's interesting is that John Dorney actually plays around with the problem of a system like that, mainly because with a system like that, you have the issue of guilt being something that can be a bit subjective. You have the problem of, you could feel guilty about anything. So it's like, well, how do you stop the quote unquote guilt from overrunning someone and being too guilty for their own good? And quite simply, you do that by having, basically by having someone having a symbiotic relationship with said robot and with said justice machine, and then that justice machine then has, it basically makes a connection. It's like, all right, here's the sort of guilty things you can punish for, and here's what you just can't punish for because that's not actually guilt. and that's not something that's a punishable offense, which is a really good idea and something that the episode explores really, really well. The idea is, and the whole steampunk aesthetic comes from the fact that it was actually quickly fixed, because it crashed on. The idea is that it crashed on the planet Earth and had to be fixed. So in getting it fixed is where you have, you have a new symbiotic relationship with this cab driver who became the pugilist, and you really feel bad for this guy. The idea is that he fell in love from afar with this random woman. He fell in love with this woman, and this woman doesn't even know who he is. You have these gangsters of London led by Harvey Marsh, played by Adrian Lucas, who I believe is a semi-known British actor. I could be wrong on that account. I think he actually appeared in some Peter Davison, in a Peter Davison story, but he's basically been extorting this money from this woman, who is poor, doesn't really have the best, standing. He's really one of those people where you feel kind of bad for him, bad for her, and she was basically, she's basically built around, the idea of, that he, that he really just sort of is trying to give her a better life. Started giving her money from the people that he that he destroyed, and things like this, which really do give. It makes the story really, really poignant for the character. There's this sense that people would have, he's doing this for the best reasons, even though it's slowly making, it's sort of slowly making him sort of break down, and as a character you feel, you not only feel bad for him, you sort of see him basically start to break down, and we end up seeing him dead, saving this woman in saving this woman's life, in what is a really, really good, a really good, valiant effort, but it's one of those things where you feel bad for the guy, and he ends up dead at the end. A lot of it is the Doctor and Romana just trying their hard, and Jago and Litefoot trying their hardest to stop this guy. They end up, but of course, they end up saving the day. This is still a Doctor Who story, and that is really good. Again, this is very much a, this is very much a story that, that builds up just from generally being, it's generally a good story. You have a bunch of driving the characters. All the actors have such good chemistry together, and you really have you have the story, sort of ending with you have the story ending with the Doctor and Romana getting muffins and going off while the Doctor is while the Doctor basically to refix K9, they take some of the Justice Robots parts. K9's been damaged since the previous story, and everything is just a happy ending. We end on some quips from Jago and Litefoot, really showing that all is right, and that the characters really work together. They are a lot of fun for characters. They get along. They have fun. Overall, this is a really good episode. So overall, I'm going to give The Justice of Jalxar Part 2 a 9 out of 10. And we average out the two scores to give The Justice of Jalxar a final score of 9.5 out of 10. Thank you, everybody, once again for watching this installment of the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon. As always, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I do love to hear from you, and I always read the comments, and I always try to respond. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let's get a conversation going in the comments, and join me next time when we take a look at the fifth story of the second series of Fourth Doctor Adventures, taking the Doctor and Romana underwater for a horrific style story in Phantoms of the Deep.